Okay, my library story. My first job at the library, I started out as a part-time page in SMRT. I was working at Cincinnati Museum Center at the time, and I knew that I liked that sort of environment, but I'd always been a big library person since I was a kid, going to my little small town library. And I ran into a friend who worked at the library in SMRT as a page, and he told me that there was an opening here. So I went for it, got the interview, got the job, came down here and loved doing the work. I was already raving about the scavenger hunt aspect to all my friends as soon as I got about a week under my belt. So I loved working here. I loved being in the building. And as soon as a full-time page opportunity opened up, I went for that. I got that. Stuck with that for a few years just because, I mean, it was really a perfectly suited job for me at the time. It's the work that I was doing, and I loved all the people I was working with, and it kind of coincided with me getting really back into reading and just the world of books. That was my whole life as a kid. It was everything I did. I was obsessed with reading. And then through high school and college, I don't know why, but I completely got away from it and was doing everything else. And then adulthood hit. I remembered it was like my favorite thing. So being able to come here 40 hours a week, do a job that I felt like was, I mean, just plain fun for me, but it seemed like I was contributing something to the world at large. Even if, you know, as a page, you've got some customer service that gets peppered in. Certainly in-person paging is very important customer service, but just felt like a good blend of interest for me. So I was doing the full-time page thing for a while, and knowing that I loved working at the library, thinking, should I try to take this up a notch, make this more of a career? So I started applying for more jobs. LSA jobs at the time, LCA jobs at branches. Didn't get any of those, but I just kept it up, kind of threw my name into the ring for basically anything that came around that I felt qualified for. I didn't want to, you know, get into something that I was not immediately good at, which is stupid, but I felt like I was so perfect at being a page at the time. That's hubris, but I felt it. So I wanted to continue being good at my library job. Eventually, I got a job in the VIC. That was, I don't know when that was. I'd been a full-time page for 4 or 5 years, got the job in the VIC. It was a teary goodbye. I was gonna miss SMRT, all the people around me. But I went over to the VIC, put on the headset, got on the phones. That was a little bit of a culture shock at first, and I think it is for everyone, because you know that the library has a call center, you know that it's busy, but you don't know what is happening, because it's all, you know, obviously library questions vary. People are calling about their accounts, calling about hours and library events, but you quickly come to learn that it is anyone, anywhere who has that number will be calling that number for anything that they want to ask or anything they want to talk about. And once you accept that that is what you're doing on the phone, that every single minute of the day can bring absolutely unexpected, oddball things, it's kind of amazing. You have your challenging moments, as with any customer service, but I felt like for the 1.5 years or so that I was in the VIC, I was really, really learning how to work with people, despite not working with any people face to face. Just that ability to get somebody on the phone, kind of figure out whether they knew what they really needed or not immediately, figure out what they needed, and then just that skill set of working with Sierra, all the library software. If they were calling about a library thing, having been a page, I felt very comfortable doing that, digging through the catalog because I was obsessed with the collection and knew the catalog well. But then also, if somebody called and I was not sure where it was going, I talked to him for a while and I still wasn't sure where it was going, but kind of that ability to pivot, to ask questions, to get to what they needed without ever making someone feel like I wasn't taking them seriously or like they were being interrogated. Walking that fine line of what exactly are you looking for? How exactly can I help you? While, being authentically curious, but sounding to them like I was legitimately trying to get to the root of what they needed, because I was. But, it's the phone. You can't use your body language. You can't use your facial expressions, which is a unique skill unto itself. So I was there in the Vic, year and a half or so, enjoying it a lot, but, I was enjoying it a lot. I just was. I was getting a lot of communication skills that I could already tell were bleeding out into my real life in a good way. And then a job back in SMRT opened up, the resource sharing specialist. Actually don't know if that was the job title at the time, but the person basically taking care of Search Ohio and OhioLink for SMRT, because it was a function of the department at the time. And I had been a voracious user of Search Ohio and OhioLink for the entire time I worked at the library. It was mind-blowing to me that not only we had this massive collection that we had, but that I could, for free, get anything I wanted from anywhere in the state of Ohio. There were some things that were reference only that they wouldn't send me, but it was pretty shocking the type of stuff that I could get hold of, not only for free, but in about a week. Read it, send it back, and feel like I had done something almost archaeological and dug something out of some dusty corner in some university library. But it was just for fun, which made it even better. So I loved that service. I knew the department. I knew the work of that service and the department. So I applied for that, got that job, came back over to SMRT to be the resource sharing specialist. I remember when I got the call telling me that I got the job, I walked outside on my lunch break and I was walking around downtown looking up at the buildings like, I'm in the city, the buildings are big, I got the job that I want, life is good, I'm on top. So that was nice. When I actually got into working the job, I really truly did love that job, because I always liked the sort of materials issues aspect of being a page. With a page, it was mostly this book is missing, or this book is somewhere where it shouldn't be. It was just the detective work of trying to find where something was if it wasn't where it ought to be. With resource sharing specialist, not only was that happening sometimes for physical items in the library, but it was also, I was doing direct over-the-phone customer service at that point still, with customers calling in saying, hey, I really want this item that you don't have, can you help me get it? So then it was trawling through the catalogs of all these different libraries, and because Search Ohio and OhioLink are going through the entire state, and because all these libraries have different softwares and different behind-the-scenes things, there's a lot of computer miscommunication that can go on. So there are these just oddball errors that no one understands that come through Search Ohio and OhioLink. And even though no one knows how to fix them, nobody knows how to get rid of them forever, you really get to find the workarounds and the just special, strange, computery backdoors that are all about getting somebody an item that they can't access. So it's very fun to feel like you're a little bit of a hacker, but you're also just doing the ultimate customer service. in that role, I also got to talk to people doing my role at other libraries around the state, which was fascinating because, I mean, it's just, you don't get that opportunity in very many roles here. I don't think, you can get in contact with people at other branches, other departments, and work together and things like that, but it was a very unique experience to call somebody up in Cuyahoga or a library that I'd never heard of. I'm not from Ohio, but still, it was like, hello to you, nice to meet you. I've never heard of where you live, and now I'm looking it up. That was fun, and I don't know, just doing the mind meld with someone else at another library who has all of this library experience in their library, putting the heads together, hashing it out, all in the service of somebody watching a movie from 1934. That was neat for me. So I did that for a couple of years, weathered the pandemic in that role. That was pretty wild times. I don't need to tell you, camera or viewer, but after that, it wasn't a restructuring of SMRT. It was, it was sort of some role switch ups, some new things. So sorting and materials retrieval over the years. Once upon a time, I've learned this from people who've been in the department for a very long time. Once upon a time, it was merely a team within the circulation department, and I hope I'm not wrong in saying that. The materials retrieval team, MRT, that became its own department, which I think was just MRT, and then sorting got glommed on, which made a lot of sense because the books are getting sorted and then they're going into the shelver, the pages, hands, when they find them. So that was SMRT. And then when I became the shelving team leader in SMRT, that was when the shelvers from all around the main library got grafted on to sorting and materials retrieval. So they're not represented in the department name at the moment, but they are very much a part of the department. And that was pretty cool because that got the entire life cycle of a book, at least at Maine, into sorting and materials retrieval. The pages go and get the item that's been requested. The item gets checked out to a customer. The customer brings the item back. It runs through the sorter, and then the shelvers put it back on the shelf. It's beautiful. And we tell everyone in interviews about that beautiful cycle because it's nice. It ties it all up. So shelving team leader was a new role. Shelvers coming in. It was, each department had their own shelvers before, and now it was one grand team of shelvers in SMRT. The shelving team leader was a new role designed to be another leadership role in SMRT because it was a whole other 12 to 15 people maybe at the time coming in with the shelvers. And so that job opened up. I applied for that job, shelving team leader. I'd never done any leadership or management of any sort, but I just felt so comfortable in the department. I felt like I had made so many friendships, relationships in the department, worked together closely with so many people, and that my sort of climb up from being a part-time page through the full-time page, through the full-time LCA, and then resource sharing specialist, I had really just been accumulating skills and accumulating connections, and then it was time for me to try something that I did not know I would be good at. Whether I'm good at it or not, I'll leave to someone else, but something that was a little outside of my experience. I took the leap, I got the job. Then I was working as a shelving team leader for a couple of years, and that was very interesting. That was a brand new position with a whole group of people who were pretty new to the department, who had come from all different departments. And I didn't know how to shelve. I'd done a little shelving as a page. You kind of think off the top of your head that it's, if you can find a book, then you can put a book back, and in some instances that's true, but shelving is totally its own skill. With paging, you've got some advantages. You're looking for the item, nonfiction. You're looking for the Dewey number. You can't find it. Then you have the title in front of you, and you can look for the title on the shelf. But with shelving, no. If it's Dewey Decimal, it's got to go in that one spot. If it's fiction, it's got to be with the correct author. It's got to be the correct title. And there are so many little things about shelving that I had to learn, and that I did learn, and I grew to love that too, just as much as I've grown to love paging and the Search Ohio link work, because shelving really feels like you are putting each little building block into the building. You are the one who separates this book from getting into someone else's hands or being lost forever. Hopefully not lost forever. We do find things once we look for them. But shelving felt special in its own way. And I really, 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 more than I ever thought that I would, loved being in leadership. I really, really, really loved being able to mentor people, coach people for moving forward. SMRT has a fantastic opportunity being a large department, and a department that, especially for Maine, can give people skills that they can't get anywhere else in the Maine library with the collection and everything like that. There's a great opportunity there to give people a super strong base, to move somewhere else in the library, to get people excited about, customer service. I think that there are a lot of people who come to the library for that. They want to be at the library because they want to help people. They want to meet all these new people and be someone who can bring joy or security or just a nice moment to someone's day. And that's not lost on anybody who's working in the basement or in the stacks or anything like that. But knowing your way around the collection and knowing how to do all of the little nitty-gritty nuts and bolts things in the building, or with materials, it transfers to the branches or anywhere else too. Having that under your belt and then getting to go experience how great it is to work with the public, to be able to use those skills that you have, with the software or with the collection, so that somebody has to wait for 5 minutes less to get the book that they're needing because they're on their lunch break, something like that. It really is a great place to start from. I was the shelving team leader, and then there was another new leadership role in sorting and materials retrieval, which was sorting and materials retrieval supervisor. Because our former manager, the manager that I had been working for most of my time at the library, Chad Lewis, he went on to be a regional manager. And Chad was so fantastic for me as a person and also for my library career, because he was the one that really saw something in me early on and convinced me that I could take the next step. I could work in this role. Basically just made me confident in all the ways that I needed confidence. I already had some in, maybe unrelated roles. And if nothing else, Chad helped me turn my sort of yammery bluster into something that I could actually utilize when it comes to communicating with those around me, which was great. And Chad was, I don't think we ever officially, stated it. He was pretty much my mentor. I don't know if that would embarrass him or not, but he was pretty much my mentor here, and I think that he did a wonderful job. I will always be grateful for the help that he gave me and the advice that he gave me. And when he moved on, that was sad. I'll admit it. Definitely missed him. Still do. But Molly Mitchell, who was at the time the team lead, sorting and materials retrieval, she became the sorting materials retrieval manager, and then sorting and materials retrieval supervisor role was created to sort of do a little more in the department, still be there as, leadership for the entire department, but bring in some more skills with sorter troubleshooting, just some more specialized skills, and bouncing a little more back and forth between the distribution center and main library, since, for the last few years, SMRT has been in 2 separate buildings, not across town, but in different neighborhoods, and that requires a little bit of back and forth. So yeah, I went for the sorting and materials retrieval supervisor role. I got that, and now here I am. I've been doing that for about a year, and this has been my favorite role that I've worked here, because I have every single thing that I ever did here still in my head. I still know and can work with every single person that I've ever met along the way, and I just have a little more ability to do what I know can benefit the department, reach out to somebody who I know can help me get a project done, and just plain more experience with the people aspect of being in leadership. Every single thing that comes along that is tough, every single difficult conversation, every situation that I never thought I'd be in, all of that, everything resolves itself, and everything becomes another feather in my cap when it comes to the next situation that I never thought I'd be in. But I can probably correlate a little bit of it with that last never thought I'd be in situation. And I feel good about what I can offer the people in the department, what I can offer the entire library now that I've got something to offer everyone. It might not be much for some people, but here at Maine, I definitely feel like I've got a lot that I can give. And just getting to come to work and have a nice little conversation with people, help them out with some random thing, and then also go to a meeting and sort of hash it out about some absolutely behind the scenes, on the ground, random craziness about stickers that can help the shelvers or the pages a year from now find something better. Love that too. It's all fun. I'm very happy that I've been working here for 10 years now, ish, and definitely one of the better moves I ever made in my life. I've recommended it to every single person that I've ever known who was looking for a job, and I've been able to do it without a single bit of hesitation, just knowing that if they get in here, they'll be happy they did. That feels good. I think I'm at the end of what I can say unprompted, which is probably a good thing. I did not mean to talk for that long. Yeah. Being, as a kid, reading was my main hobby. I would just hole up in my room and read. Apparently, I started reading very early, and I would read anything they would hand me. I grew up in a very small town in Kentucky. It was very rural, and it's strange because, I'm in Cincinnati now, and I know so many people who they love the outdoors. They're all about getting out there, going on a hike, going camping or something like that. And I grew up in what to me now feels like a far away dreamscape of nature, but I didn't want to be in it. I would go out with my friends and I would run around in the woods, but I wanted to be inside reading a book at all times if I could be. I was lucky enough to have a family that supported that. My grandpa in particular, he would take me to Walmart to get the new Animorphs book and the new Goosebumps book every single month, and it was every single month. And he was a big factor in my love of libraries early on, because we had the library in my hometown, which was, I don't know if I'm misremembering it because it was, a life-changing thing for me, but I feel like it was way better of a library than we had any right to have in that small of a town. And my grandpa was a carpenter, so the library, they had display cases for some like geodes and other random bounties of the earth, things that they wanted to show off from the county and the town. My grandpa had built those display cases, and it seemed like he was always tinkering on them or bringing some more in. So he was very good friends with the people who worked at the library. So he would take me down there because he knew that I could run around those aisles for an hour and grab a billion things, and then he could sit and talk to them about the dimensions of the shelf that they wanted next, or the display case. Perfect for both of us, and I know that he got a real kick out of how much I was obsessed with being in the library. He was a big reader. He loved the Westerns, the Louis L'Amour. So I think he liked to see that carried on in me. But so I was a collector of books from an early age. I had the Animorphs, I had the Goosebumps, I had just a gigantic collection of books as a kid, because that is the only thing that I wanted. That's the only thing I wanted anyone in my family to spend money on for me, and that's the only gift that I ever wanted given to me was a book. So I accumulated a whole bunch of them. Then I got to go to the library, and not only did they have all these books that I didn't have, but they were free, which meant that I could get more and more and more of them. That little library, they had a lot of VHS tapes too. So I got my tapes of some old BBC Narnia adaptations and the Hobbit cartoon, which was pretty fantastic. They had computers, and I didn't have a computer at the time, so I got to get on there and play probably Ski Free or something like that. Just mess around on the computer, which felt massive to me then, and it's still to this day an utterly essential part of the library that means so much to people. But I would be at that library. I think that's where I got my first couple Narnia books, that's one of the first things that I remember being totally obsessed with beyond, what I felt like were kids' books. I knew that Narnia was, for children-ish, but I don't know, it just felt more adult because it felt like another thing, It was in another world with, whatever bio I had on the book was what I knew about him, but a non-American author writing with words that I hadn't heard, and certainly not words anybody around me was saying, about Turkish delight, which was such a mystery to me, still kind of is. But I got the Narnia books, and because I loved that library, I was very keen on going to my school library once I was in school. Yeah, I was at that little library before school age. Then I got to school, and I was immediately best friends with the librarian, because we had a pretty good library in my elementary school too. I was in there constantly, every second I got. I was just obsessed. And then we had the Scholastic Book Fair come through. I could not sleep the night before the book fair. It was Kings Island, by the way, was the big class trip for us, 3 hours away in the woods. That was like you're going to Kings Island. You could not contain yourself for the week beforehand. But the only other thing that I got that way about was the Scholastic Book Fair. It was everything. I had the catalog. I had it all planned out. I knew what I was going to grab. It was just an obsession in every sense of the word. But I knew that it was a good thing. I never felt bad about it. I never felt like, never felt like a nerd. And that is not a bad word. But, when you're 7 years old or something, and you're in a place and around other kids who do not care about reading as much as you. It's not like you're an outcast or anything, but it's just if you don't have other people to share that interest with, if you're kind of on your own with it, you can feel a little isolated, I guess. But I knew that it was a good thing. I knew that it was a great thing that I was doing, that it was a good hobby to have, that this would never do me wrong to be obsessed with. And so I went through my elementary school career. I got into middle school. I think in middle school, we at that point got to go over to the high school library, which was a big jump, a big deal. I felt like I had exhausted the elementary school library by then. So when I got to go to the high school library, one, it was bigger. Two, it was in the high school. So immediately I was growing up. Things were moving. I was stepping into the wider world, bigger places. So I went to the high school library, and I don't know why I picked it up, because in those days all I had to go on was what I had read, what I thought I would like. I couldn't look up the reviews online before I checked it out. But I grabbed another C.S. Lewis book because I love Narnia. I grabbed Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. It was a little thin book. I didn't know anything about it. It seemed kind of cool because it was about another planet, and the cover was some old abstract sci-fi thing, a hairy creature in a gondola on an outer space river, something like that. It compelled me at the time. So I took that home, and that was the single wildest and craziest thing I ever read. I read the other two books in that trilogy, the space trilogy, and they just kept getting wilder and crazier. I have a vivid memory of being at my grandparents'. They had the TV on. The stove was roaring. There was something on the TV that I really wanted to watch. I really wanted to see what was on the TV. But I also had this book, and I really wanted to read what was in this book, and it was like such a struggle. But I landed on the book, and I read that book, and somebody was surfing on like superheated Venusian waves of gold, and it was way cooler than anything that could have been on the TV. So from then on, I knew that I was going to be obsessed with science fiction forever, and that is still, to this day, my main thing, the thing that I think about all the time. So now let's time skip, because I didn't read as much in high school. I didn't read as much in college. But once I got out of college and I got back into reading, I remembered the way it made me feel. I remembered how I've always been trying to see somewhere else, be somewhere else. Growing up in the country, I was interested in the city. When I got to the city, I saw the city, then I wanted to see other cities. And with science fiction in particular, it was like, I don't have to go out. I don't have to get in the car. I don't have to get on a plane. And I can see some stuff in my mind's eye, which I had really trained over the years, that they couldn't build if they tried. That was amazing for me. And the Magic School Bus, I don't remember the quote, but the sentiment was, and that was a popular slogan back then. Books, they can take you on wondrous journeys. They can take you places you can't go anywhere else. And I took that to heart, and I legitimately find it to be true. I would say that to someone with a straight face, no matter what, because I don't know. I don't want to get too serious about it, but there's a finite amount of time in this life and a finite amount of resources, but you can come to the library, you can get a book, and for a while, you can just surf on the superheated Venetian waves of gold, and that is very neat. But, okay, let me tie it up. So once I started working at the library, I'd been to the library. I knew this was a great big library. I was astounded by the size of this library. But once I started working at the library as a page and got to go into the stacks, nonfiction is nice. I appreciate it. But the fiction stacks here, unbelievable. It was like I was stepping into Narnia on my own, but the Narnia was even better. I didn't have to deal with any witches or snow. It was just like, here I am, as far as the eye can see in this direction, as far as the eye can see in that direction. There are books, fiction books, that I can read, and I haven't heard of more than 1% of them, if that. Unbelievable. Mind-numbing in a good way. And I'm still riding that. That has never gone away. Every time I have to go down to the fiction stacks to grab something, to shelve something, to check on something, I feel it again, which is, I hope that never goes away. That really sustains me in a lot of ways, because if I can, I'm not trying to be sentimental or cheesy right now. I'm trying to tell this honestly, just the facts. If I can come to work, which is something a lot of people don't enjoy doing, not here, in the world. A lot of people don't want to go to work. If I can come to work because I want to and get into the building just a little bit and go down an elevator like one floor, and I'm in the absolute largest collection of books that I've ever seen in my life, and I want to read a lot of them. I don't want to read all of them, but I want to read a lot of them. For me, as a kid in particular, and I am that kid, there's like nothing more amazing in the world that I could ask for. And they're free to check out. Keep them for a long time, because I've got a very long backlog of books. And I don't know. Everybody else likes them too. It seems like we sent a lot of books through the sorter. So I think I'm blushing. Am I blushing? It's okay. Okay. I think that's the end of my life story, I think. Yeah.